This segment is from the Piano Inspires podcast, Season 2, Episode 8, featuring Midori Koga with host Andrea McAlister.
How do you maintain I'm not even going to say balance because I don't know that we
know that we don't
really
have
maintain
balance.
a balance.
Yeah.
But how do you maintain that motivation, inspiration, that keep that passion going in yourself so that you can model that for others? And
it's a really great question. I'd love to ask you too. It's like so one of my again great privileges is playing with my trio. So I'm with a soprano and a clarinetist, and the three of us we started playing together about 12 years ago, and we live in different cities. So Kim lives in Texas and Lindsay lives in North Carolina. I live in Toronto, and we happened to come together. Each one of us kind of knew the other one, and then we came together and did a couple of concerts, and there was a synergy and as people and as three mothers and three women, working women, and as musicians. And so that we commission new work. So that piano, soprano, clarinet combination is a little unusual, and so we have been writing grants and commissioning works, and we have been working with we have kind of a family of living composers, and we keep going back to them, and they're dear friends, and we keep going back to these composers, I think, because they tell stories of life and joys and gratitude, and sometimes life and death, and a lot of parenting. And one piece that we just commissioned is by Yvette Harriman Rodriguez, and she's a woman from Cuba and is living in the States, and we just sat together in a brainstorming session, and she said, I would love to write a piece of music that conveys somehow this in between. My home is Cuba, and my home is in the United States, and my home, but one foot in each place, sometimes makes me feel like I'm in another world, and sometimes that's special, and sometimes it's lonely. And she expressed it so beautifully, and so and it's something then that I kind of responded to. I'm in Canada, I lived in the US, and I'm Japanese heritage, and sometimes I feel, where do I belong? And so in experiences like that, where we talk as a trio a lot about what is our voice as a trio, what is our voice individually as musicians, and what is the voice of the composer, and telling that story, and who are our audiences. So every time and then my students have said that they like it when I go away. Oh, I should think about why they're saying that, but they like it when let me see what they mean. So they like it when I go away, because when I come back, I do have, I either have stories that I can share, and also I'm reminded again about the importance. It is. I know you're stressed out, right? They're feeling the pressure of upcoming recitals. It's coming close to the year end, but trying to help them remember that there's a reason why you're here. There's a kernel of that passion and love and joy, and a connection to the music that you're playing, and that you're playing music of composers who have stories to tell, even as long ago composers, but now they're playing more and more living composers, and I'm so glad to see that really blooming in recent years.
We get so stuck, like you said, in the notes. I'm going to play the notes correctly. And we often forget about the stories behind it, that we are really, whether we're teaching or performing or talking with one another, we're storytellers.
Exactly.
And remembering that through the music, through our teaching, we are passing along the story of the music. And every individual, like you were saying, they're all individuals. So they're all going to bring different voice. So that's really interesting. And even though you said they love it when I go away, I completely understand what you mean.
Right?
It's a reset.
It's a reset.
It's a going out in the world and remembering.
Yeah.
And reflection.
And it's that moment of pause that I also ask them to remember. So I tell them that it's in, again, everybody, I love teaching you, but it's also important for me to just pause for a moment so that, because it is, teaching can be so all encompassing, and because we do care about our students, and then sometimes we get swept into the experience, and the pause and just viewing from a little bit farther away gives us that space and a broader view of who they are, and the stories that they're trying to tell. That remember this. Hey, everybody, remember the stories that you're trying to tell. I know you're trying to get that octave passage, but let's just step back for a minute. And often then the octave passage with a little less tension resolves a little bit more. I mean, it's a balancing act, like you say.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do we help the 20-somethings, our students, understand how important that pause is? Because I know when I was that age, it was go, go, go. I do not have time to pause because it's just too much to do.
I know.
I think it's worse now.
I think it's much more difficult now. Yeah. And I do. I'm so glad you said that, because I do think about that a lot. And I think that's actually, Jess and I are doing a presentation tomorrow very much on this topic of the spinning world, spinning so quickly that we do have to sometimes pause. And I can tell them, and we have conversations about this all the time. In studio class just on Thursday, they were looking so tired that I said, let's put on our coats, let's just go for a walk. And they'll go for the walk and they're happy for the moment. And I, try again to remind them on another day. I brought my puppy Loki in, and he was a disaster and he was all over the place. But it gave them a moment to just laugh a little bit and chase him down the hallway because he took off. But I do think about that a lot. My daughters are that age, 20 and 23, and I see that in the spinning, in the fast spinning, that we're all just forgetting the pause and the human connection and the importance of whatever is important to you. So for us, we're so lucky to have music, and just cultivating those moments in whatever it might be, in piano playing or in teaching. For me, I think it's that too, or snowboarding, or or cooking or baking. And I do wish that for the younger generation, that they don't allow themselves to be taken off into the hurricane of faith.
Yes, it's really difficult because it's the getting ahead. Well, if I stop, I can't achieve this goal, or someone else will get the job that I want. And there's so much competitiveness.
Yeah.
Not even external competitiveness.
Yeah,
it might be internal. And you talk a lot about vulnerability. And like you said, you have been giving this presentation with Jessica Johnson and all of the work the two of you are doing about talking about just the messiness of life. How do you deal with the messiness of life? That's
such a good, as Jess and I have been thinking about this and working with this, But I think the one thing that we have learned a little bit is to just sit with the messiness. We've learned that we can't outrun it. We have tried for much of our lives. And so just to be able to embrace something that's hard, and I think, each of us has had some moment in our lives where the very thing that we didn't think we could ever handle, if it happened, and something does happen to that, and then you have the wake-up call that then the only important thing is not success, not moving forward, but your core values of human connection, the people, your family, our puppy, our husbands,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that just a really quick story. When I was 24, I actually quit piano for a year. So it was sort of a kind of getting close to rock bottom, and I had been in Austria for 2 years. It was a very intense program, and I came back exhausted and had a kind of a personal breakup, a relationship breakup, and it was all too much for me. And I decided that I just couldn't do music anymore. I can't do music. I can't do piano. And so I quit, and I took a job as a tour guide for 10 months. And it was very good for me because I had to get up and I had to kind of be in show mode. And I took about 8 months to really understand that I miss music so much. But that pause, I think, and I really didn't play for 10 months. But that pause, I think, took me into and that's what sent me to Michigan. And that was for me a huge step. So it was really after the pause that I feel that there was a really big step upwards. So the beauty of the pause, if anything, for young people, don't be afraid to take the pause. In a moment to yourself, you're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to just be, for a moment.
Just take up some space and be with yourself.
Be sure to listen to the full episode on our website, pianoinspires.com, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.